They say the night never ends in Alutah City, from the suburb to the township and informal settlement. Even the sun dares to rise. The light feels wrong and sickly, like it's afraid to shine too bright. Whispers that the darkness here has roots and it grows beneath under their roofs and haunts their sleep. Alutah wasn't always this way. Can you picture it? A quiet, vibrant township, full of laughter, full of life. Then in time, like all the places, it was bought and developed to a vibrant city. Modern houses were built, and those who couldn't afford were pushed to the informal settlement. But one night, the laughter just stopped, and the shadows began to breathe. It started with the teenagers. Something inside them seemed to snap. They started sneaking into the woods after dark, drawn by something, a calling. The old folks swore they heard music drifting from the trees, not instruments but voices singing in tongues long forgotten. And when those youths came back, they weren't the same. They began acting strange, bizarre, dancing in the middle of the streets and in front of open graves, laughing. At night, they'd gather by the well and whisper words that felt like they were burning the air. Soon after, people began to disappear. Then the creatures came, from the depths of the Alutah darkwood forest. Yellow eyes started to glimmer between the trunks, but those were not men. People called them the free. They moved without fear. Their flesh rippled under the moonlight. Skin stretched and cracked as they changed shape, sometimes eerie creatures, or men, or sometimes something horrifyingly caught between the two. They prowled the fields, devouring livestock first, and then people. One night, a man's screams echoed from his shack. By dawn, all they found were his clothes, neatly folded beside on the floor. The Frees were hungry again. Alutah began to rot from the inside out. The market smelled of death, yet the people kept eating. They cooked meat that twitched in the pan, smiled as if it were the finest honey, swallowed bread crawling with maggots. Whatever evil had taken root was feeding them lies. Feasts of utter decay, illusions of sweetness. It was pure madness. Neighbors turned on each other, stabbing over shadows. Every night someone died, and every morning the dead were seen walking again, pretending to be alive. It was hell, wearing the peaceful face of the settlement. Then one night, Father Zulu woke from a dream that burned behind his eyes. He saw Alutah, a black, breathing, pulsing wound on the earth, and heard a voice command him.
"Go, my servant, for my light must walk where no light dares to go."
He rose at dawn. With him was his apprentice, faithful, bright, and completely untested. They journeyed into the mist that surrounded the forest. The closer they came to Alutah, the colder it grew. By the time they reached the township, the mist felt alive, whispering their names. When they stepped inside, a dead silence greeted them. Eyes peered from every window, blank, glassy, watching their every move. In the center of the square, the youth were gathered, chanting softly around the old well. Their mouths moved, but the voices weren't their own. Zulu felt his blood run cold. He raised his cross and began to pray, but the ground trembled beneath his feet. Then a scream. His apprentice convulsed, dropping to his knees, clawing at his own throat. His eyes turned black.
"You should not have come here, priest."
The voice that ripped from his lungs was not human. He lunged at Father Zulu, striking with an unholy strength. The priest staggered, holding up his cross. He prayed loud, desperate, and shaking, words spilling from him like lightning. The demon inside the apprentice screamed, smoke pouring from his mouth until he finally collapsed. But Father Zulu knew this was just the beginning. From the darkness of an alley, an old woman stepped out. Her back was bent and had two empty holes as eyes. She smiled, and the air filled with the stench of decay.
"Welcome, man of God. We've been expecting you."
It was her, the witch of Alutah, the thief of blessings, the stealer of souls, the one who had cursed the youth to ruin, had taken every dream, hope, and fed it to her dark master. The ground itself split open beneath her. Hideous shapes crawled out, bodies twisting in agony as they surrounded the priest. Above them, the sky cracked with thunder, though there was no storm. The witch raised her hands, and the youth screamed as one, their eyes bleeding black tears as they rushed toward the priest with sticks and hate. Father Zulu stood his ground. His cross began to glow faintly in the swirling storm of darkness. He began to pray without fear, but with a righteous fury. The words of light poured out of him like holy fire. The ground quaked, the witch shrieked, and the Frees howled in agony, limbs shifting, Every time they touched the light from his hands, their flesh burned, the air filled with their screams, like 100 dying animals. Father Zulu walked forward. Step by step, he placed it upon the witch's forehead, and her skin cracked like shattered glass.
You cannot save them all.
She whispered, her voice like grinding stone.
I already have.
And the light erupted. The darkness screamed a final world-ending scream, then simply evaporated. The creatures melted back into the shadows of the forest. The possessed youth fell unconscious, and the witch's body turned to a pile of ash on the wind. When dawn came, the air smelled clean for the first time in years. People woke remembering nothing but the suffocating feeling of an endless night. The skies cleared, the forest went silent, and in the Alutah square stood Father Zulu, praising, weeping softly. His apprentice knelt beside him, trembling but alive. Alutah village had been freed, but the priest knew evil never truly dies. It only sleeps, waiting for the next city, the next night without light.